Hello again, everyone. Joseph R. here from mythasrpg.com. I wanted to take a moment and give a little insight into Mythas and what it is and why it's so different as a campaign setting in modern times. In my opinion, fantasy storytelling has lost its edge. It's too safe, too sanitized, too clean, too afraid to challenge us. Not Mythas. Mythas completely shatters the illusion of a polished, perfect world that the players happen to live in and drags us into the raw, unfiltered reality of a realm forged by the divine fall. Welcome to Mythas, a campaign setting for a fantasy roleplay that dares to dive deep into the grit, complexity, the moral ambiguity that made us all fall in love with role-playing games in the first place. Modern fantasy settings have lost their edge. They've lost something very crucial. They're too focused on pleasing everyone, creating safe spaces, not offending anyone, and they end up erasing the hard truths that make worlds feel alive, feel immersive. Mythas rejects that concept entirely. Here, there is institutionalized racism against the Eldkin and Stoneborn by humans. It's not just a backdrop. It drives rebellions, it drives alliances, and it forces players to make decisions. Slavery isn't sugar-coated or erased. It is integral to the Imperium and the Dominion, both, who require that labor force to survive. Gladiatorial combat is not just entertainment. It's survival, it's power, it's political manipulations. Someone recently asked me, what makes Mythas truly unique? Let me break it down for you. Complex morality. Here, there are no knights in shining armor, save the paladins of Verdantis, so there are some. Your choices will be between mostly the lesser of two evils. Do you dismantle an oppressive system, or do you wield that system for your own gain, or more importantly, the gain of the entire human race? Unapologetic brutality. From blood-soaked arenas to the streets where oppression is a way of life, Mythas doesn't flinch. Cultural depth. Each nation reflects humanity's darkest ambition and their brightest hopes. From the rigid hierarchy of the Imperium to the might makes right mentality of the Dominion to the defensive posture first of the Kingdom of Verdantis, every nation is different. Every nation believes they are doing the best thing for humanity in the best way they can. They just don't agree how. Also in Mythas, there's nuanced racial tensions. The Eldkin's centuries-long oppression forces adventurers to make hard choices and decide, do they uphold a broken system, in their eyes, or do they risk everything to spark a rebellion? A side note on the oppression of the Eldkin and Stoneborn. This situation was reversed before the Divine Fall. The Eldkin held humans as nearly pets as a whole and would not allow human expansion. There were many wars between the humans and the Eldkin, as well as the Stoneborn and the Eldkin. And the Eldkin easily won and oppressed humanity and the Stoneborn for quite some time. The true victim in all this is the Stoneborn. They really never bothered anybody. But with their affinity for stone and living underground, they make wonderful miners, and the Imperium needs that ore to fuel its war machine. So does the Dominion. So they're really the true victims, but I'm sure everybody's going to say, oh, the poor Eldkin with their little pointy ears. Gender dynamics is another part in Mythas that is important to speak upon. This is something that I'm sure it's going to piss a lot of people off, and that's too bad. This is the world as it is. So we're going to look a little bit more in depth at the Dominion of Tyrathia. The Dominion of Tyrathia is going to be our example. It's a nation that thrives on strength and conquest, has very rigid gender roles, creating a stark divide in society. Men dominate public life, leading armies, governing households, ascending to power through the brutal right of dominion. From childhood, boys are trained for war and leadership roles. Their worth is measured in bloodshed and victory. Women, in contrast, are pillars of the home, tasked with the bearing and raising of strong heirs, preferably boys. Fertility is celebrated and is nearly sacred, while barren women face scorn and are, in essence, declared useless and worthless. Noble women are political tools that are used in arranged marriages, while common women are bound to child rearing and household management. Women in the Dominion are barred from combat, leadership, and sacred ceremonies like the Rite of Dominion, enforcing the Dominion's belief in male supremacy. Those who defy these roles risk societal ostracism or even worse. Now, to some people, or perhaps most, the Dominion's culture might seem oppressive. Well, it's not. It's well accepted by the women in the Dominion as well as the men. It's oppressive to the people outside the Dominion. So, like the Imperium, where the semi-divine ruler, Empress Aurelia Solance IV, is the head of the Imperium without any questions whatsoever. The Hex Hunters are an all-female elite unit of magic hunters, led by an enigmatic figure named Mother. Darksky, who is the head of the Arcane Legion. All of these are women, and they're in very high roles, very powerful roles, and women and men there are no differences whatsoever. The same thing with the Kingdom of Verdantis. Other nations have other beliefs, other feelings, other systems. So it's the people in these other areas that look at the Dominion and say, oh, these poor women, they need to be free. They need to be this. They are free. They're free to be who they are, and they accept their role, just like the men accept their role. I'm sure there would be some men that would rather be a dentist, if you catch the joke. But they're not. This is the culture that they grow up in. This is the culture they live in. This is the culture that they feel gives humanity the best hope of survival against the Blightspawn. The Dominion's culture might seem oppressive to some, but what it does, it creates deep opportunities for storytelling, for role-playing. And it's up to you as players and game masters, do you accept these roles? Do you use them to your advantage? Or do you even fight to change them? Well, that's entirely up to you. It's your home, it's your table, it's your game. Mythos isn't just a setting. It's a movement. It's a return to what made role-playing games great. High-stakes storytelling, player agency, and immersive worlds that challenge us. The world is dangerous. Whether you're navigating the frozen wastes of the north or the treacherous courts of Tyrathia, every decision matters. Magic is volatile, risky, unpredictable. Every spell you cast carries danger with it, and the consequences can reshape entire regions. Yes, there is a cost to magic, a hefty cost. Magic, we'll cover that in a different episode, but so suffice it to say, every single spell that you cast, whether it be Magic Missile or Meteor Swarm, carries the potentiality of death or worse. Every spell. But like I said, we'll cover magic in an episode here coming soon. So who is Mythos for anyway? Well, I don't know. It's definitely for me and people like me. I'm hoping it's for you and your friends. It's not a campaign setting for the faint of heart. It's not a campaign setting for those that are easily offended or have difficulty making difficult decisions and choices. Mythos is for players and GMs who crave depth, complexity, and the kind of storytelling that lingers long after the dice are rolled. If you're tired of safe, predictable worlds and ready to embrace a realm of ambition, survival, and moral complexity, then Mythos is for you. I can promise you that. This Mythos is a campaign setting for role players. People who enjoy slipping into a role that is not their own, that their character is not simply an avatar for them as a person, and they get to experience a world, a deep, rich, lore-filled world, through the eyes of another person, their character. And they make the choices based on what their character believes, not what they believe. They make decisions based on their character's morals, not their own morals. That's who Mythos is for. And that is, to me, the roots of role-playing games. This is just the beginning. In upcoming videos, we will cover the brutal societies of Mythos and the not-so-brutal ones. There are some happy places, believe it or not. We'll cover the volatile magic systems and the mechanics behind it, and the divine fall. I've already covered that several times, but it's worth talking about again. But what you can do for me is subscribe, like, and share the video. I used to listen to YouTubers, or not YouTube, people on YouTube, and they talk about that. You honestly have no idea. I didn't know how much that meant. I didn't know how much that little bit of engagement meant. The little 3 seconds of clicking a thumb. But most importantly, starting to build the community of Mythos. You can find us on Facebook, on X, or Twitter, Reddit, and most importantly, the website, mythosrpg.com. So please subscribe, follow, and join us on the journey so we can bring the spirit of true role-playing back to life. Yeah, back to life, not undead. Hey everybody, this is Joe Farr. Prepare for the Kickstarter launch this July, and let's reclaim the magic of role-playing. Welcome to Mythos. Become legend.